Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your Resource for Success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. My name is Kimberly McLemore, and I am your host. With us, we have LaShawn Draper, founder and owner of Draper Mobile Notary Service. Welcome, LaShawn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
All right. You sound nervous. We don't have to be. Just relax and enjoy this evening and this opportunity, because you're going to have lots of listeners out there, thousands of people listening to your story. So to start this out, we want you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, as you said, my name is LaShawn Draper. I am the founder and owner of Draper Mobile Notary Services. I am also a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a student. And I, and again, am just the owner of a business that I really thought that would really and be able to help and impact people, as well as to develop my passions and my interests as well.
Okay. All right. So you are kind of a multi-mother, as we call them, mompreneurs, solopreneurs. So you're a little bit of everything. So
yeah.
All right. What I want to do though is let's backtrack just a little bit and tell me a little bit more about you personally and where you're from. Now, you're a business and you are actually located in Delaware, Maryland, correct?
I'm actually located in Middletown, Delaware.
Okay.
Delaware is a small state, if you will, between Maryland and New Jersey. Okay. I was born and raised here, and I have 3 children, and I have a husband, and my children are my pride and joy, and they, my oldest is 11. I have a 10-year-old and I have a 4-year-old. So definitely, yes, they definitely keep me busy.
Yes, I bet they do, because there's a nice little split there.
Yeah, it definitely is. But they help me out a lot, believe it or not. So I'm appreciative of it.
Well, that is awesome. So tell me, how did you get inspired to decide to go into business? And then, once we talk a little bit about your inspiration, tell me a little bit more about what Draper Mobile Notary Service is about.
So honestly, the reason why I started my business is because I am a student, as I mentioned earlier. I am a senior. I'm in my last year, 1 semester to go. And I decided to start a business to help me pay for school. Essentially, what the situation is that I essentially ran out of financial aid as an undergrad. Which if I would have known what I know now, there's definitely some things that I would have done differently from, when I first started my undergrad career. But because I ran out of funds and I only have this 1 semester left, I was trying to figure out what can I do to help me be able to pay for school, but then something that will also include my passion, something that I would really enjoy doing. And so my degree would be, I would have a bachelor's in criminal justice with the goal of attending law school. And so I said, why not try to do something that is along the lines of the legal world that'll keep me kind of within what's going on, but it'll also be able to help me pay for my final semester. And so what eventually just started out as being something to help me pay for my final semester, it actually has developed into something that I'm like, man, I really want to keep this going. I want to be able to have something essentially to leave to my children, right? My mother, she is a woman of faith to the farthest extent. And so with that being said, she's always been one to teach me, about faith and how to believe and things like that. And so one of the scriptures that I honestly look at and I enjoy is talks about being able to leave an inheritance to your children. And so I said, well, why not have this business be something that I can leave to my children, and I can show them and teach them, what generational wealth looks like, and how, to build, for their future. Right. And so that's what this business is for me. It's not only a avenue that will help me to pay for my final semester of school, but it's also an avenue that I'm using to teach my children about generational wealth and how to build and save and invest in your future, so that when it comes time to retire, you're not necessarily dealing or relying upon, I should say, Social Security, for example. But you will have something that you can actually say, this is mine, this is what I built, and this is the benefits that I'm reaping as a result. So that was my reasoning for starting the business. Now, excuse me, Draper Mobile Notary Services I'm the only employee. I'm the only person.
Okay.
And so it's basically a business where I travel to different people, individuals as well as businesses, and I notarize their documents. Now, there are some restrictions just because of different laws that the state of Delaware holds. But for the most part, I am able to notarize any document, for the most part, except certain real estate documents. And that's what I do. I travel to people, so I make it convenient for the consumer. I make it convenient for my clients.
Right.
And I travel to them based on their schedule, based on what's convenient for them, the location of their choice. I just bring myself, my tools, and I notarize their documents, and I kind of go from there, and and just hope that when it's all said and done, that I put my best foot forward, and I'm able to help them achieve whatever they're needing their notarization for, essentially.
Right.
So
exactly. Well, the thing that I'm listening to you, I really like when we're coming backtrack here, when you're talking about what you're trying to leave, this legacy for your children, and having that generational wealth. A lot of us minority families don't talk about these things. We're always told that, hey, it's good to make sure you get out there, get your education, and then go work for somebody. And nothing wrong with that if that's who you truly are, and you don't feel you have the passion to want to be in the business world. But we never sit down and talk enough to our children about the fact that, hey, you can still get the education because I want you to get that, but I want you to take that education. I want you to use it for yourself.
Exactly. And I think that, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
But that's so true. And I think that as minorities, as African Americans, I think that's one of our major downfalls, is because we always hear that knowledge is power, right? And we always hear, get your education and do these things. But once you get that education and once you get that knowledge, we at some point we lack the wisdom needed in order to execute the knowledge and the education that we've received, so that we're able to better our position, and we're able to really become marketable within any arena, right? And so because we're not taught that at an early age, or I'm gonna say we're not taught the importance of it. Let me say that. Right. Because we're not taught that importance of it, we kind of just like lackadaisical about it, and we're just like, oh, okay, it is what it is, And I will admit, like, before I started hanging around and associating with people who are entrepreneurs, and even like I'll even take it back to even when I first started my college career, I wasn't taught the importance of credit and being able to be marketable to different companies and corporations, and being able to carry myself in a manner that will enable me to stand before, upper management, executive, senior level, and I was never taught that. But it wasn't until I decided one day that my value and who I am and what I've learned and how I conduct myself is more valuable than just working for Joe Schmo down the street, right?
Exactly.
It's more, and so I think that when we're able to understand what that means and the value that we actually hold, then we can progress, and then we can move forward, and then we can have a true understanding of what it means to truly be an entrepreneur, and what it means to be able to stand before people that you wouldn't necessarily ordinarily be able to stand before, because now you have the knowledge and you have the wisdom, and now you know how to execute properly without, anything being left behind, or
right, exactly,
like that, so.
Exactly. Well, and then the thing that is beautiful about your story is that you had to sit down and think about, how am I going to make this happen for myself? I'm sitting here in college. I've got another semester, and I have no more financial aid. And, a lot of times, even for some of our families, minority families, they can't even depend on financial aid. So to know that when you do have the opportunity to depend on, then all of a sudden you no longer see it in front of you. You had to make a decision. And the thing that I love is that you valued yourself enough to say, you know what? I can do this on my own. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get through school, and I'm going to use my talents, and I'm going to go for something that is what I want to learn and I can do, and it's a future thing, not just something to have, the last overnight just to make these few dollars to get me through school. So sometimes it takes that little bit of negativity for us to reach out and grab that passion that we already have and that we're driven to. You were driven to say, I got to get through this school, and I'm not going to be dropping out at this moment. And that drive is what's got you to where you're at today. So that's the important piece about what we need to understand about ourselves. And a lot of people don't feel like, sometimes I think when they talk to us, people who are in business, they only see the shell. They don't understand what we go through to get to where we're at today. They don't understand the struggles that you've gone through, and what motivated you to make that step. And then here you are, still going through school, you got a family to raise, and you're running the business. Women are phenomenal anyway, but that's an extra applause because you made it happen, in a little bit of a moment of crisis. You understand?
Right. Exactly.
You didn't go out and ask and tell your husband, well, you need to go out and work 2-3 more jobs because I got to get through school.
Right. He would probably think I was crazy. Right. If I told him something like that.
Well, but sometimes people do that because we're so conformed to what society tells you have to do. Well, you need to go out and get an extra job, because you got to get through school, and I don't have anything, wrong with people going to school and getting an education. We all do it. I've done it the whole 9 years. It took me 20 years to go back and get my degree because everybody beats you over the head and tells you that you have to have this in order to have a job. You have to have this in order to be successful. You have to have that degree. And now there's hundreds of thousands of people running around out here with degrees and can't even get a job.
Right.
And a part of it is that, of course, we have that. Some people have that fear of, oh, my gosh, what am I going to do if I start a business? How am I going to do that? Who am I going to talk to? Because there's so many pieces beyond just knowing your specific thing that you do well. As when it comes to running a business. I'm sure you have absolutely learned that as part of being a business. But let me ask you this quick question. What does it take for you to become a notary? Because when I think about somebody being a notarizer, we normally would go to a banking institution or an attorney's office and so forth. So what did it take for you to get into this field?
So honestly, I'm gonna say the rules vary by state, to be honest.
Okay.
But in the state of Delaware, basically I had to contact the Secretary of State office. And essentially what I needed to do was submit my application. They complete like a background check and go through all of that background stuff. And then once they approve your information, then you're able to become a notary. when I submitted my application, I was also at the same time submitting my information to obtain my business license.
Okay.
And so I was kind of doing both processes at the same time, which really, being a notary doesn't necessarily require you to own your own business. Okay. But I will say that in the state of Delaware, I am one of not a lot that actually have their own mobile notary service, because a lot of times people go to, like you said, the banks, or they go to an attorney's office, depending on what type of document they need to have notarized. But there's not a lot of mobile notaries within the state that are outside the walls of a business, because a lot of times you'll find notaries that work for banks, but they're not able to obtain the business for themselves, if that makes sense, because it's all based on the bank's or the company's information. The same goes for an attorney's office. Whereas for me, because it's my business, I don't have to run my business based upon the standards of another company or business. I do have to abide by the laws that the state of Delaware has put in place for how a notary is to do things in terms of what fee they can charge for certain things. Okay. Such as, for example, the state of Delaware will say that you can only charge $5 per signature. So basically what that means is that if you can decide that you need me to have to me to notarize one of your documents, I can only charge you $5 for the signature. Okay. However, because I travel to you, I can charge you travel costs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, there are many different facets of it, depending on, each person's business. But that one particular thing in reference to the $5 per signature or per notarization, that is what the state of Delaware requires. Now, there are other states that require that same $5 fee, just depending on the state. But the state laws are different based on the state that you're in. So.
Okay. So how many years have you actually been doing this mobile service?
So believe it or not, I actually just started in May.
Wow, look at you. Okay. All right. Well, hey, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You are absolutely a startup business, and it's amazing, to get this opportunity to talk to you where you're at this level, because I know you've had some challenges. So what challenges did you have when you decided to get started with this a few months ago?
Wow. So the challenges that I honestly faced was just not knowing, honestly. And when I say not knowing, I mean just not knowing how to start a business, how to run a business, where to start, what resources were available to me, who I could contact to find out what I needed to do apart from going through the state. Because, there are a lot of people who run notary businesses, but they're not always willing to help. Okay. And so, and I'm not going to say that is specific to a notary business. I'm going to say that's specific to business in general.
Business. That's right.
Right. And so, but for me, just the challenge was just not knowing how to begin. And then the fear of, what if I don't succeed? Right. Because we always, at some point, at least I know for myself, I've always held myself to a certain standard. Absolutely. And if for some reason I come below that standard, I feel like the worst person in the world, even though in actuality, it's really not that bad. Right. Right. So so for me, just the fear of not knowing how to do and what I should do is what my challenge was. But thank the Lord, I was able to have friends who I didn't even know were notaries, who don't even live within my state, who were willing to kind of steer me in the right direction and tell me what I needed to ask for, what tools that I needed in order to make my business successful, and what organizations that I should contact that are actually women organizations. One of those organizations being the NAPW, which is the National Association of Professional Women. Yeah, and so I had no idea about that. No
Okay.
idea.
Right.
But just being able to have friends who are already a part of this existing organization and other organizations that are local to the state of Delaware, I've been able to really just glean and just get more and more information and be able to ask the necessary questions so that I can be successful and not worry about what if it doesn't work, but be more so focused on how I can make it work and what steps I need to take. And it's been so helpful. So helpful.
Well, and that's great because, I mean, and that's, your story is probably, I'd say 75 to 80% of the people who decide to come in business. And, the hardest part about coming into business is, like you said, is knowing who to reach out to, and then if there is somebody out there, 90% of the time, they don't want to deal with you because they're concerned about the competition they're going to have. But at the end of the day, there's no reason to have to reinvent the wheel. And that is the thing that I, beat over the head a lot of times about, is because with all the resources that we have available, with all the different women-owned businesses, that is what WSBI is about. My goal here is that, hey, you guys are all here telling your story. Now that you're telling your story and you shared some success, now here's another woman who's going to have an opportunity to come to reach out to you to say, please help me. Tell me how you did this because I'm interested in a business that's like yours or similar to yours or maybe even identical, but you may not be in the same area, but there's plenty of space and room out here for everybody to be successful. And that's the key, is that people come into business not understanding what it takes. And I harp a lot about doing business plans. People don't believe that business plans are a necessity. The reality is that they are. And the plan is an evolving document. It doesn't have to be, I got a plan done, I got my doors open, and I'm never going to see it again. That is not the purpose of having a plan. It's a step-by-step process when it talks about those things, that just what you're saying is that, hey, who do I go talk to? Do I have the money to do this? Or what is it going to cost for me to do that? Am I financially stable? Do I have to continue to find another work? All those different things and entities that people have to think about when they're coming into business. And with you being so fresh and having this opportunity to explore all these are things that you will be able to excel to somebody else. So that's my next question. If you had another woman walk up to you today and they want to open up a business, what good advice would you give to them?
So, excuse me, I would tell them to explore every single resource presented to them. And like you said, because the business plan is an ever evolving document, that means that if you are looking at your plan and you see that, hey, maybe that advertisement wasn't good. Okay, this is why it wasn't good, and this is what I can do to improve it. Or you can find ways to look at other options. And one of the other things, resources that I use a lot is an organization called SCORE. SCORE is an organization that essentially has mentors that are willing to help you to navigate, your field and to really help you to make your business successful. And so I would recommend SCORE without a doubt. I would recommend NAPW. I would recommend looking into any business grants that are available within your state. If you're a small business and you're looking to obtain funding to buy tools or anything like that for your business to make your business successful, look into any business grants, because a lot of times, I know even within the state of Delaware, they offer a lot of small business grants. Whether you're a woman or a minority, they offer these different things to help you to be up and coming, to improve your business, from where it began. And so for me, if I had any advice, it would be to explore every single resource. Even if you think that it won't help, explore it anyway, because you never know what part of that resource, even though at the surface, it may not look like it applies, but when you dig deeper and you look into it, it really does apply to exactly where you are to help you, to be successful and to expand your business if that's what you're looking to do. So explore every single resource. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because SCORE is definitely a good option. SCORE predominantly has everything for free, the mentors that they provide, and they have specific people there to do specific things. So,
Exactly.
you don't have to feel like you have to utilize everybody. But, if there's something, if it's about marketing, they'll have somebody sit down and talk to you about marketing. If it's something about dealing with the business plan or the financial plan, they have specific people who have those skill sets that will work with you. So I definitely know SCORE is an excellent program. Where I'm originally from, I'm from Davenport, Iowa, and I worked with the SCORE programs in Iowa as well and in Illinois when I was running a small business program, and they are very willing to unite with other organizations in order to assist people with what they're trying to get accomplished. So SCORE is absolutely a good one, and with the community that you're from, like you said, it's very small. That is a great option, and then of course the other women's organizations that surround you within the community. And see, and like I said, now you have an opportunity to reach out and teach somebody else what you've learned, because it's all fresh in your mind, and who knows, you may come out with the next book, or be that author, or come out with the next training program, right?
Exactly. It's so funny. And so I know you're laughing, but it's so funny that you said that, because honestly, prior to me, and my friend, she will tell you, because she harps on me about this all the time, because I need to get it done. But prior to me even starting my business, I literally was ready to sit down and write a book. And that's the honest to God truth. And I just honestly had not done it, just because I just didn't sit down and begin to write. And then I started thinking about, man, I really want to finish school. I know I have this final semester. I know exactly how much money I need. So what can I do to find, or to finance my final semester? Right. But I promise you, Kim, I was supposed to write a book prior to starting my business. But my friend, bless her heart, I'm going to get back to it soon. I promise. I promise.
No problem. Look, priorities become the one thing about, and I'm an author, so I understand what you're talking about, but the one thing about writing, it's important about writing, is just taking the time to do a little bit of here or there. And you will be surprised that you'll find yourself start writing, and then the next thing you know, you've got another page done. Then the next thing you know, you're calling them chapters. So writing is something that I find that you have to be in the mood to do, or to set or that simple thought. Like you can be in the middle of the night sleeping, and all of a sudden you got to get up and you got to start writing. So when you're ready, you'll know, and once you get going, nothing's gonna stop you. So don't worry, get those other goals accomplished. You're almost done with school, and congratulations on that piece. And
thank you.
The rest of it, you can continue to knock the world around, and keep doing the notary piece. And hey, who knows? Maybe you might do a franchise. There's so many possibilities with the business that you have. So
that's so true.
Keep thinking and keep growing. But until then, tell me how listeners can get a hold of you.
So you can contact me at any time on Facebook. It's under the same name as my business, Draper Mobile Notary Services. On Instagram, it's at Draper Notary. And you can also find me on my website at www.drapernotary.com.
All righty, great. Well, I want to thank you for coming out and spending some time with me this evening. Do you have any last words for the listeners?
So my last words would be, keep going, don't stop. Because a lot of times we can become so overwhelmed by different areas of our lives, and there's so many things that could be going on. But whatever that dream is, whatever that vision is that you've begun to write, or that lies in your heart, keep going, don't stop, and don't let any obstacle, no matter what that obstacle is, stop you. Because I can tell you from experience, I was a single mom at the age of 20, and yes, my kid's father was there, and he was taking his part. But I did one thing I used to always tell myself, is that, LaShawn, you can do it, and you are worth more, and you have to show your kids that you can do it and that they can do it too. So that's why I can say, no matter what the obstacle is, no matter how far it may seem like that obstacle has set you back, keep moving, keep going, because your dreams will come true.
Absolutely. As I always say, dare to be fearless. That's what this is about. And again,
that's right.
Definitely thank you so much for your time this evening, for sharing your story. And see, it wasn't so bad after all, was it?
No, I thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. But to everybody else, I would like to say good night. We're here, though, every evening at 7 p.m. on Thursdays. And you can also find me, if you need more information about WSBI, at www.wsbillc.com. We're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also want to make one note that follow us and listen to the program on Spreaker. This is where all of our programs are running through. So become a follower. So you can go directly to www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. But until then, you all have a great rest of the evening. Talk to you soon.